Good evening, people. Welcome back to BNR. We've had a couple of days off, but we're back again. So welcome back. It's me, it's Sarib, it's Gene. Blue Chip is still on vacation. He's back, but he's not back, if you know what I mean. And we've got I was going to say, Tom, it feels like your debut, but it's not your debut. It's been a while, mate. It's been a while. There's no introductions. We go straight to you, man. Thank you very much for coming on. How are you? We've had an enjoyable weekend, like I say. We've seen a lot of teams run and rave, but we've cruised past Accrington Stanley and then turned our attentions to a lad that we were told or led to believe that we're going to go for if he was available. And how 48 hours in football is a long time, and things don't change. And we're here to discuss it all and break it all down. We had a little brief discussion backstage. You're still in the camp where he might turn red. You never know. But before that, mate, how are you? And welcome back.
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I had a nice, pleasant weekend watching the FA Cup. We got the job done very early on a Saturday. First things first, why are we ever playing at 12:15 on a Saturday? that was 12:30. He's bad enough. Even earlier than that, Jesus Christ, I nearly missed the start of the game. And then you're watching all the other teams. You know, Chelsea done all right, City done all right. It doesn't matter. But then I watched Tottenham go to extra time against Tamworth. And, you know, that really put our results on Wednesday into perspective, didn't it? And then I watched Arsenal go 120 minutes getting a deflected goal against 10 Man United and still go out. So, all in all, a pretty solid weekend of football. And in our game, you know, we're seeing first ever goals for Chiesa, Trey Ione assists, Jaden Dan's goal, you know, lots of good things to look at there. So, pretty good weekend for it.
Pretty good weekend. Gene, you finally made it. I know you were waiting for Shide by at the train station very, very early, but you managed to make it. And you even had the experience of being Asim on the L6 block and Asim texting you saying, get this and get that. So I wasn't at the game. It was Gene playing Asim on Saturday afternoon, but you got a bit of a taster in the life of Asim.
Never again, mate. Don't ever ask me to do any of that shit again, honestly, Asim. That's simply not for me. Just look, I don't really like. I like sitting in the main stand anyway. You know I don't. And obviously with Shide and stuff, and he was like, "Okay, I'll play Asim for the day." But you know what? Like Tom said, you know, we early doors, we got the job done. You know, I was buzzing that Chiesa scored. I'm a massive fan, and especially Jaden Dan's when he got his goal as well. Look, it was a decent day out for all of us. Trent scored an absolute cracker. You know, it was good that he captained the side as well. And look, we'll speak about the game, but all in all, it's been a nice weekend, hasn't it? Really, you know, we got our win. We can sit back, watch Sarib's team lose today at home, and you know it's all hunky dory.
Sarib, it took 3.5 minutes for his first little jab.
He just
came in round one.
He just can't let it go. He just can't let it go.
I'll never let it go.
You have to let it go because I've been consistent this season. But no, to be fair, like Tom said, like Gene said, it's been a good weekend of football. I mean, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I dread the FA Cup weekend. I dread it because normally after that it's a long break till Premier League football. But you know what? When Liverpool win very, very early and Arsenal lose very, very late, it starts good and it ends good. So you can't really complain. But obviously we're going to talk more about Liverpool. We're going to talk about more of that lad behind me and those two lads because they seem to be doing nothing. But yeah, all in all, good weekend. But we need to get down to the real stuff because we all know why we're here and everyone wants to talk about that lad behind me. He's not physically behind me, but he's on my TV screen.
Tom, let's go for it because 48 hours ago we had a show and the title was Liverpool's swoop for Kvaratskhelia. I think that's quite good, by the way. But moving on, where are you with it as things stand? Do Liverpool have any chance in your eyes?
Right, there's two parts of this. Everyone I've spoken to journalists. I spoke, you know, even comments people mentioning Grizz. You know, I've asked Grizz multiple times this weekend for the delusion. Every single person I've asked at any point has said Liverpool are not interested. Are not going to pursue Kvaratskhelia this window for whatever reason. And yet there's just this little part of me because I really like Kvaratskhelia, and he just makes an awful lot of sense as a transfer deal with what I think will happen in the summer. That just makes me think something could happen. And there's a wonderful term for what I use, and it's called delusion. It's delusion. What I have delusion that Kvaratskhelia is going to be wearing Liverpool red, and it's about a 1% chance and 99% faith that I'm going to wake up on Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to see a tweet from Fabrizio or a tweet from whoever going, "Oh, Liverpool moved to hijack Kvaratskhelia deal. Been negotiating all weekend, offers there, and we all get excited." And do I think it's going to happen? No, that's the God's honest answer. I don't think it's going to happen, but we can all dream. And if he did happen, you'd be looking at the best attack in the league getting even stronger. You'd be looking at that attack not only getting stronger in the short term, but being so future-proofed as well, with at least 2 top quality wingers for the next 5 years in Gakpo and Kvaratskhelia. So it's something that I really wanted to happen. You know, when the news dropped with Ornstein, it looked like it was going to be a case of, you know, oh, it's Diaz all over again. It's such and such all over again. Yada yada yada, and that hasn't materialised for whatever reason. But, you know, a little bit delusion goes a long way, but ultimately, I did see Federico Chiesa actually turn up on Saturday and play some football, and he looked very good when he played some football. So does throw a little bit of a spanner into the works. Look, I think he's an incredible footballer. That's first and foremost. I was at Anfield when we played Napoli in the Champions League. We won 2-0, and they weren't great on the night, but he was electric. He nutmegged Trent right in front, and we played this beautiful ping all game. He was causing problems. He's such a threat on that left hand side. And I think the reason why I want it to happen so much is because if he doesn't come now, he won't ever join Liverpool. And that I'd really love to see him in a Liverpool shirt. I think he's the type of player Liverpool. He to me would be a typical Liverpool player, typical Liverpool winger, exciting but direct at the same point. But it won't happen. And the reaction to it has been, you know, as you can imagine, on social media platforms, very mature, very reasonable. Definitely not asking for people to be sacked. Definitely a complete understanding of what the word PR means and what good PR is. So, you know, it's been a funny little 5 days. But as much as I'd like him to join, I don't think he will, because of a certain number 9 who is clogging up the place.
We'll go to that the certain number 9 that you allude to, or make reference to, Tom, later on, because I'm sure we'll cover the game as well, and I want your opinion on Darwin Núñez as well. Talking about journalists, Cheen, after the game, I'm okay to share it as well, because he didn't tell me anything that was secretive anyway. I messaged Fabrizio, as you know. I do enjoy a personal relationship with him, and I asked him after the game, where are we at with this transfer? And he messaged me saying, "Hi brother, at the moment it's PSG, nothing else. If they enter, I will let you know." That was Saturday afternoon. Why do you think Liverpool will enter the race? Or shall we shift our focus onto the articles of David Ornstein and Paul Joyce? Because Liverpool fans at the moment are upset, Gene, because normally, in normal circumstances, when those sort of articles appear from Paul Joyce and David Ornstein, 48 hours later, the deal is complete.
Asim, look, obviously when that news sort of broke, we were all excited, thinking, you know what, we've got a chance of signing this player. You know, people mentioned PSG. Look, PSG, and you know, they've agreed personal terms. Personal terms with the player were agreed in the summer, because they went in for the player in the summer. That was all, you know, hunky dory. They'd already signed. They'd already had personal terms agreed with him. So it's not a biggie. For me, it's not a biggie anyway. It's just when they said that there's meetings booked in for early next week with Napoli, that his representatives are going to go and speak to Napoli, you think, okay, now the deal might be, you know, further ahead than first thought. But, and look, I, like Tom, again, might be slightly delusional, but I genuinely believe that Liverpool will not have let that sort of news out. People can call it PR, but why would Richard Hughes take an L by just letting some sort of news like that out in the press for us to get, you know, nothing to happen within the next 3 or 4 days? Yes, if it was to roll on for the next 2 or 3 weeks, you know, I get PR then. But, you know, if that's 3 or 4 days and players gone, he's just going to get a load of shit from the fans saying, "Oh, he's lost out on Zubamendi. Now he's lost out on KK." I'm going to call him KK because I can't pronounce his name. Yeah. So
you used to sit in KK.
I know I did, man. Anyway, long time ago, not anymore. Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense, Asim, in terms of the in terms of what's going to happen. I don't buy this PR business. I think, look, we probably didn't realize how far advanced they were. Number one, but it's still open. We can still go and gazump that deal if we really want to, because in terms of the wages, we know we can pay them wages because Chiesa is on 130, and if he wants 150, 660, 160 grand a week, we can pay that. He's a 23-year-old. He's perfect for Liverpool Football Club. He's a brilliant footballer, and it makes sense. And I agree. Look, he is an opportunistic signing. We love that word, and Liverpool should be all over it. Liverpool should be all over this signing, and if the opportunity is there, which we were told by Joyce and Ornstein that Liverpool will come in if the player is available. 2 days later, the player puts in a transfer request, practically. So if you look at it, we're saying that 2 days later, we must have been in some sort of contact. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense for us to let that type of news out. And if it does, it really, really is stupidity of the highest order from Liverpool's end if they've just let that news out for no reason, which I don't think they did. I will still believe that Liverpool in the next 48 hours, something will happen. They might go in. Yes, we might get heartbroken again, and the player might say, "You know what? PSG were there with me for the last 6-7 months, like Caicedo did." But at least go in hard if you're going to go in. Don't blip and dilly-dally around and saying, "Oh, we want this player, get the fans happy," and then pull out of it without even a fight. At least put up some sort of fight. That's what I'd say.
Sarib, Jean uses the word PR. How does it serve Liverpool well if you're going to put it out there and not get the deal over the line? How does that serve Liverpool well? I don't understand it. But there was a bit of a conversation. I don't know if you saw it on my thread today. Steve Hoare, did you see it? Yeah. And Steve Hoare was saying, and he was right in the fact that, there's not always Liverpool's going to leak news to Paul Joyce or David Ornstein, especially David Ornstein, who's got a vast amount of connections all over the world, especially not just with agents, but with owners as well. Sometimes a story comes from agents or elsewhere, and then they take it to the club, and then they expect the club to comment. But where do you sit with the whole conversation? Do you think Liverpool leaked it? Do you think Liverpool didn't leak it, and the journalist brought the story to the club? And then club made a few comments, and then they went with the story. Where do you sit?
I think it's difficult to like completely pinpoint which thing is accurate. I think what you're asking me is whether you think this news is true or not. I do believe there's truth in this news, because I think in the summer there was a lazy link about Liverpool looking at Kvaratskhelia, and he is a kind of player that fits the criteria of what FSG like in terms he's not over the age of 25, 26. He's not on ridiculous wages, and he's not really going to cost a lot of money, to be honest. And I think we can pay his release clause in parts, but I think what Napoli want, they want it up front. But you look at the player and his profile, it is something that Liverpool have been looking at. We wanted a left winger in the summer, be it Gordon. It's a position that we've been looking at. So I do think that there is truth to this, because again, like you said, why would it then be leaked into the press? Liverpool are looking at Kvaratskhelia, but on the other scale, maybe it's a distraction as to the glaring issues currently with the contract situation of Salah, Van Dijk, and Trent, because normally David Ornstein is the one that has put forward that Salah's been offered a new deal, Van Dijk's been offered a new deal. He's the one that's come out with this news first before Fabrizio Romano. But it's tricky to say. Some people are saying Ornstein is on he's been briefed by Liverpool, he's on a payroll, whatever it is. I don't buy that palaver. I do think there's interest in the player, but like Gene said, I think we didn't realize how far the interest with PSG and how far the deal is down with PSG. It's like a mix of Caicedo, but Liverpool have not gone in for the player. So Chelsea agreed personal terms with Caicedo months prior to him moving there. We came in the last hour, he basically told us to go away. I'm going to Chelsea. Maybe it's something similar with Kvara, but we've understood that he's basically going to go to PSG, so we haven't put a bid in. Maybe if we had any inkling that he would sign for us or would want to sign for us, maybe we would have put a bid in, but that obviously hasn't happened. So I just think I think Kvara to PSG is basically 90% done. I think it's not PR. It's because I do think, like I said, the interest is real. But I do think maybe it's taken away from the current glaring issues at the club, which is the contract situation.
Has it though? But barring Saucy Salah 11 on Twitter, who has the brain cells of a goldfish and can only focus on one news piece at a time, I think every Liverpool fan, when the Kvaratskhelia news dropped, went, "Oh, great! What about the contracts? We didn't just forget that there's arguably 3 of our best players out of contract at the end of the season, and signing Kvaratskhelia, that I would have been, yeah, look at him holding the Liverpool shirt." The day after, I went, "Why did we use that money on Salah? What if we can spend that money? Why can't we use it on Van Dijk?" It wouldn't. When we're talking about distracting from the main issues, no one forgot it. I don't think anyone seems to forget. It's a big problem, and the people who run that notion and idea that FSG used this Kvaratskhelia thing. Bear in mind, he went and got arguably the most reputable journalist in football at the minute, David Ornstein, to, for all intents and purposes, slightly damage his reputation by reporting on this, considering the reaction he's got. They went and got him, and then they went and got Paul Joyce, so they've already weakened that side of it, all to just distract from the fact that we need to sign players to contracts which we've known for ages, and about 2 days after Kvaratskhelia is signed, we would still sit there and go, well, we still need to sign the contract, so why is that not getting done? When people are going, I just don't get it. I don't get the notion.
But the point is, Tom, what I'm saying to you is I get what you're saying, but maybe it's like taking the eye off the ball. Obviously, all the talk in the media has been about Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent constantly, especially with the Trent stuff. Like, genuinely, in the last couple of days, I haven't heard Trent to Real Madrid at all. Like, I'll be honest, I was hearing
you'll leave it tomorrow. You'll leave it tomorrow. He lost 5-2 today.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll sign a free contract by tomorrow, according to Marco.
That's the only thing I can suggest. Why the timing of this doesn't make sense. It falls into the fact that Salah, Trent, and Van Dijk are heavily in the media, especially the last month or so, especially with Trent. And then this Kvara link comes up to maybe kind of take our eye off the ball, because normally we're on this channel talking about Trent's situation every single day, and I'm sure a lot of other channels on YouTube are, and football channels, and I haven't seen it online. And maybe it's because of this, and that's the only...
Sarib, it's only going to be what we're going to take our eye off the ball for, what, 3 or 4 days?
But no, but
4 days in the grand scheme of
that's
things.
what happens, bro.
4 days later, we'll be banging Trent again.
Yeah, but fans are fickle.
Been sorted.
That's what they want. Maybe they're
doing.
No,
we might be fickle, but we're not stupid.
Yeah, exactly. But if it's not being like constantly being bombarded in the media, Trent Salah every single day, maybe Liverpool are dealing with that privately and trying to do that stuff, and it's not in the face of the media. I'm not trying to defend it. I'm just trying to find a solution.
Sorry,
what's going on?
Could it be the fact that where Liverpool were just late to the party, where there's been talk about Kvaratskhelia to PSG for about a year or so now? I think they were in for him last year as well. And they went to the table, and they just got told by the player and his representatives that he just wants PSG. And Liverpool just walked away. But the story got leaked, albeit, granted, Liverpool don't look good in this. But maybe they didn't leak the story to David Ornstein and Paul Joyce, where the news came from elsewhere. Is that a possibility?
It very much could be. Like I said, I can't give you yes or no, and I don't want to dwell on something that might be incorrect. But the truth of the matter is, we're talking about a player at the moment that we're all aware of. Comment section, all 3 of us on the panel, or 4 of us, including myself, we all know that he wants to go to PSG. Kvaratskhelia wants to go to PSG. He's agreed personal terms with PSG. So we're talking about a player that Liverpool have not even put a bid in for. Liverpool have not even agreed personal terms with.
Why would you put a bid in for someone that you just know that he wants PSG?
Exactly. So the point is, well, you're saying, are Liverpool late to the party? They very much could be. But I think they knew that before going in for him. Because if you look at the article,
everybody knew that, Asim, because he had agreed to
deal. Kvaratskhelia, but we'll keep an eye on the situation.
PSG. He agreed Kvaratskhelia, where he agreed to personal terms with PSG in the summer. So it's not like nobody knew about this. Everybody knows about this. Is standard news.
Exactly.
So late to the party, yes, but nothing. We went in knowing all this. It's not like we didn't know that these, because this was everybody knew this.
But he wanted to leave the
question, which begs the question, Sarib, is we're gonna go to the 2 guys on behind Sarib, aren't we? Where I know it doesn't, regardless of what's happened, we obviously we'll never ever know the full truth on this, but we have to look at our owners and the guys who are running the ship at the moment is, whoever we're going for, we just can't get over the line. Whether they just end up rejecting us and, stick with the mountains in Zubamendi's case, or if it's Caicedo, we arrived to the party late and we scuppered the Lavia deal as a consequence. And then, with the Kvaratskhelia, we're going for deals where we're monitoring, we're considering, Gene, and we just really realistically can't get them over the line, is because our opportunity has to be right for us. And that has to be a ballpark figure of 40-50 million pounds, structured in the right way. And it just goes back to the same point: has this ownership, has this model just outgrown Liverpool, or Liverpool have outgrown this model?
I say, look, it's like you mentioned, we've been late to the party on a couple of occasions now. We scuppered the Lavia deal, and the Zubamendi, look, that's not on Liverpool, because if a player had a change of heart last minute, I get that, right? That can happen in football. But it's just funny that we're always late to the party. Why can't, for once, we be early to the party? Why can't we be the ones leading the race for a player? Rather than, we're waiting around. Kvaratskhelia, everybody knew he's such an unbelievable footballer 2 or 3 years ago. Why weren't we the ones that did the groundwork on the player a couple of years ago, kept him like the likes of PSG, like the likes of Chelsea with Caicedo? We can gazump the likes of Spurs when it concerns Diaz, but when you're up against teams that have got unlimited amount of money, i.e. Chelsea and PSG, they will throw the money at him. Yes, I know they're not throwing the money at him right now, but they've probably done a lot of groundwork, and the player probably thinks, you know what, like I said, I owe this team because they've spent the last 4 or 5 months in contact with the player, and I get it. End of the day, somebody's giving you, thingy. I get people will say, oh, it's just a farmers league. Yes, it probably is, and Liverpool are the bigger club, than PSG, but if Liverpool didn't go for him in the summer, these lot did. These lot put all the groundwork. They put in the effort. They've still been in contact with the player, and you can accept that. You know what? If he chooses PSG, like Caicedo chose Chelsea, but it's just sad that we're always the ones that are flipping. We're always the ones that are losing out on players. When was the last time we actually said, you know what? We've signed a big player and beat somebody to him, beat a big club to that signing. I can't really remember when I say, if I'm honest. Maka, maybe. I think there was other clubs that interested at the time. I think Man City wanted him, but we'd already done the deal was agreed. Yeah. Gravenberch, obviously, look at that, but Maka was probably the one that I'm talking. That at the time. So look, in terms of the ownership, Asim, everybody knows my thoughts on the ownership. I've always said that we've outgrown this ownership, because in terms of us going strong into the market, we see the likes of Man City, when they have a slight blip, what do? They go and Pep gets the checkbook out, goes and buys players. He hasn't gone and spent £120 million on one player. He's been clever about it. He's going to buy, from what I've seen, 3 players around the 120 mark. Players that he believes that will fit his system. And they'll try to rebuild again in the summer and go again. Whereas we were at the pinnacle of world football. We could have, all it would have taken us is 1 or 2 signings per summer to keep us going. But we were static. We weren't reactive enough. We weren't proactive enough. The owners weren't proactive enough. We lost out on deals. Klopp even came out at that time and said, you know what, I wish we had a bit more, that we could have been a bit more aggressive in the transfer market. And then we found ourselves, behind the likes of Arsenal, City over the last couple of years. But fair play, the players that we've bought, Klopp bought at the time, and whoever bought, we've managed to get ourselves back in contention. We've managed to make it, we're top of the Premier League again. We've been lucky. We're lucky that we're there, Asim, because we could have gone, delved further down in the table, but we're there. It's the time to really say, okay, we're only a couple of positions, so go and flip and give the manager what he wants, a couple of players, because it's clear as daylight. There are players in this squad that Slot is not a fan of, that we need reinforcements in certain positions. So support the manager, give him them couple of players, and then we can say, let's go again. Then hopefully we'll have another 2 or 3 years of, so hopefully sustained success, because Man City are not the same team that they were 3 or 4 years ago. Arsenal, we've seen they've had a blip this season compared to the last 2. So, we're the sort of front runners right now. It just needs a bit of, from the owners, whoever, Hughes, Edwards, whatever, and we'll be back to the pinnacle of world football again.
Yeah, I think.
Go on, Tom.
I just think this first year of Hughes and Edwards and their recruitment model, the more I think of it, the more it's a case of fixing what was broken the previous 2 years. Like, even though last window was very good, let's not get it. All four midfielders that we brought in the summer before were very good. Endo, McAllister, Soboslai, Gravenberch, all being very good signings. But that's not how Liverpool wants to operate in a window. The summer before that was carnage because our director of football signed 3 players and then left. We had, an interim guy last summer. The club were debating, the owners were debating selling the club. The manager was internally telling people that he's not going to carry on. It was not a solid environment. I think that half the job Hughes and Edwards have had this year is to fix those errors, those mistakes, and bring back the successful structure. That successful structure that we had under Edwards last time. You don't just walk in one day and it's fixed. You've got to re-establish that over a period of months. Do I wish that the football club would sit there in January and go, right, the manager needs a left back because he doesn't trust he's not really comfortable with his left backs, and he needs a DM because he doesn't trust the backup options at DM? Yes. But part of the issue that I've got is that regardless of who we buy, we are going to effectively be stuck with them because of how we operate. If we go and buy, I'm just using his name, I'm not saying he wouldn't work, but if we went and bought, for example, Ryan Aït-Nouri from Wolves for 45 million quid at left back, and then we start playing him and all of a sudden he doesn't look like he can handle it for whatever reason, he's caught out of position, he's getting done by the wingers and this, that and the other. Instead of what certain other clubs like City would probably do, which is realise that 6 months in, cut the losses, sell for 20 million, and then go and buy the next one, we would sit there and go, right, we'll give him another chance. We'll give him another season. Maybe he just needs a bit more time. And then it wouldn't work out the year after that. And you'll go, well, maybe he just needs a little bit more time and we'll get it working there. We kept Naby Keita at the football club for 5 years. Oxlade-Chamberlain for 6. Like, Liverpool, when they make a signing, will ride or die on that signing, which is why.
But Tom, do we as fans? Do we as fans have a lot more responsibility to not to accept that?
In the same, yes, but in the same breath, these people in charge have made us look like idiots a couple of times with the transfers that they've made. I mean, we didn't sign Van Dijk, and everyone was rightfully annoyed that we didn't buy a centre back. We should have went for. I mean, I remember some of the names going around at that time because we didn't get Van Dijk, and the level of drop off quality was horrendous. But you waited, you bought your time, and you're getting your top target again. You see it happen with a number of positions with Liverpool. I like that model. I do think that we need to be a little bit more aggressive with the model, but I do like the model as a whole. I do think it's a very successful model that works. But I think it's needed to be reintegrated into the football club this summer because for the last 2 years, we've not had that model. We've had, for all effective terms, Jurgen Klopp and his mates running recruitment for 2 years. And whilst, some players worked out in that time, some haven't. And the football club is still paying for the mistakes of the big transfer that was made then. So I can understand why there's a little bit of an edginess and a tetchiness to dive straight back in. But the one part that I can't excuse is the contracts. That's the part for me which I just don't get. I understand that you're looking at the whole, are they going to be worth it in 2, 3, 4 years' time? The football romantic in me goes, why would I ever want to sell Van Dijk or sell Salah? Why can't he retire at the football club? What happens to testimonials? If players deserve testimonials, they're two of the players that deserve a testimonial. Let them see out the farewell years at the football club and then retire. That's the romantic part of me. We don't get players retiring at the football club anymore. But even just in logically, Virgil van Dijk is going to be the best centre back on the planet for at least the next 3 years. Mohamed Salah is going to be one of the best forwards on the planet for at least the next 3 years. And we're on and on about a 2-year deal. At some point, you've got to bite the bullet there. You've got to accept what you've got, because the one thing, I don't know if you've read the book that Ian Graham released in the summer about
bits of it.
The one part he said was, as you get better and better, for Liverpool, it becomes harder and harder to find a player that hits your threshold.
Yeah.
There is no player in the world who hits the threshold to replace certain players in the squad, like Salah and Van Dijk. So you have to bite the bullet at that point and ride through it. And I do think that the football club will realise that they have to. I just hope they realise it sooner rather than later.
Sarib, is that the harsh reality is that we've got a pot of money now that we can't even spend. And because that pot of money is not big enough anyway, now we have to prioritize with the contracts, and rightly so. But don't we need to also make a statement as well? These guys who want to sign the next 2-3 years, that we mean business. And it's the same old problem. Liverpool fans, and Chin touched on it, we don't want 100 million signing, but we've traditionally never strengthened from a position of strength. That's the crux of the matter here, isn't it?
Yeah, but the truth is, Tom said something that I don't agree with whatsoever. He said this can be a very successful model. This was a very successful model. This Edwards model 6-7 years ago. Football is not the same from 6-7 years ago. It's completely changed. We have players like Enzo Fernandez going for 100 million, Caicedo going for 120 odd million. It's very, very difficult to find players like Sadio Mane for 40 million, Mo Salah for 40 million, and then come into your team and become superstars. It's very, very difficult. We only started competing is when we spent money properly, and when we sold Coutinho and invested that heavy with Van Dijk and Alisson. And everyone speaks about how successful this model was. It was very, very successful at the time, but the model was successful when we spent big alongside the model. But when you don't spend at all, you're basically setting up to fail. And I put a tweet out yesterday, Asim, about the missed transfers Liverpool have had. I don't know if you saw it. And
yeah,
I had top reds in my DMs telling me, "Oh, get out of here, go get out of your Mars basement and this and that." I was like, listen. I want to win. I've seen Liverpool left behind by Arsenal in the last couple of years. I've seen Man City win the league year in, year out. I don't want to be able to go through that same position, because we're in a position of strength now. People say to me, "Oh, why do you want to go and spend money when you're top of the league?" But what people don't understand is being first place and being first in the Champions League does not mean the players that you have are good enough to carry that on. Because like the great Sir Alex Ferguson says, and I always use this example, he always used to tweak a squad every season, whether he used to win the treble, whether he used to win the league. He always had one or two. You tell me in the last 5-6 years, how many windows Liverpool have had where they've not signed one player? 2022, who did we bring in? Arthur Melo on loan. And we bought Darwin Núñez to replace Sadio Mane, not to add to the squad, to replace Sadio Mane. The 2021 window, we signed Ibu Konate. We signed one player. When we won the league, we signed Harvey Elliott and Adrian. And people will say to me, "But the squad was good enough." But that's not the point. If you set yourself up to fail years in advance, eventually the cracks are going to become clear. And the cracks have become clearer when Klopp was in charge and when Edwards left, and etc. And it's all, like Tom said, it's been a all couple of years that's bundled up to now. And we sit in first position now. We sit top of the Champions League, and people point the finger saying, "Oh, we don't need players and this and now we're first, we're competing for everything." But what they don't understand is when Man City are going to strengthen when they're behind, when Arsenal are going to strengthen behind it. If we're going to sit there, we're going to be left behind like Arsenal did a couple of years ago. And thank God we're in this position. Thank God we're in this position now, because it covers up a load of cracks that we have in the squad at the moment. Like you said, there's a lot of players in the squad that Slot doesn't fancy, and that's a difference of opinion. But it's very, very clear that if you don't invest in the team, you're not going to win. And look, I don't want to keep using the example of trophy, but the currency of success in football is what? Silverware. And we won the Champions League, we won the Premier League. But if we invest in the squad, how much more could we have won? We could have another Premier League in there, another Champions League in there, maybe a couple more cups. But the reality is, if you sit down and do nothing, you're gonna get bitten in the arse, whether it's now or 6 years from now or 10 years from now. But it's round the corner.
I struggle though. The part of me now though is struggling to carry that notion over to this group, on the pure basis of the managers are clearly very different. Very different in their management style. I don't know how many of you remember the story. When Henderson was in the last year of his deal, Edwards wanted to sell him. Edwards was going, "This is the right time to sell him, and I've got your replacement."
Contract, didn't he?
Yeah, Edwards had his replacement lined up, a little Brazilian lad from Lyon named Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah.
And we didn't bite, and we gave Henderson a new 4-year deal, and that effectively locked the midfield off for a couple of years until he went, because you're not going to buy anyone to replace your captain. Do I think if put in the same situation in the summer, we get a bid for Wataru Endo, do I think Arne Slot's going to sit there and go, "No, give him a new 2-year deal"? He was useful for me last year covering positions. Or like Milner, we kept giving Milner 1 year, 2 year extensions, and it kind of blocked off a squad spot because Klopp was always going to use Milner. Whereas now, this manager, I think what we're seeing here in the lack of trust in players also to me implies that he's going to be ruthless with certain players. He's not going to he's not going to keep certain players around the squad, and that will also lead into what Edwards wanted to do at Liverpool, but was kind of blocked off from doing at points because of what the management was at that point. And that's not me trying to demean Jurgen Klopp before anyone in the comments tries to go at it. Jurgen Klopp was incredible for Liverpool, but when we're talking about growth and moving on, sometimes you need to be ruthless. Sometimes you need to cull the herd. And Liverpool now are in a position where they have, for me, a guy running operations in Edwards, who was quite happy to cull herds when needed, and a guy in Arne Slot who, if you go talk to any Dutch, football fans and they talk about Feyenoord, the first thing they say is he sold a bunch of fan favourites. He was very ruthless with the squad. If you mash them two together, I think you'll see a more in-line recruitment structure with what we want to do. And yes, the whole sell to buy notion is very annoying. And the whole idea that Liverpool won't turn big unless they sell. But I think that's what you're slowly going to start seeing. We'll start selling bigger because we'll just sell more players. Slot seems to want to run a smaller squad, but with trustworthy players and give youth opportunities as backup. So to me, I think that, yes, there were mistakes made by a similar model previously under different managements. If we get to this summer, where I think there has to be a big overhaul, and I think you'll see elements of one, I think you'll see certain players who we don't really want to let go. But if we get to that point, and then we're still making the same mistakes, I'll be fully on your side, Sarib. But for now, I'm just not going to judge them yet. I think that you'll see a lot of players go this summer. I mean, across this past week, I tried to do a list in my head. I've got Nunes is one who's going to go.
We played FIFA last show, Tom. We had I said we need about 6 sporting directors going by what these guys had on paper. But carry on, mate.
I'm just thinking, within the next year, I think you're going to be seeing Nunes come. I think that they wanted to let go of him in the summer, to be honest, but we have to sort of run it by him. Another element of them two coming in late. I think you'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if Elliott went. I think you'll see Simicast go. I think you'll see Endo go. I think you'll see Morton go. And I wouldn't be shocked if you saw one of Diaz or Jota go. And that's not even me thinking about maybe Gomez wants to push for a move, and then all of a sudden that's 7 players who I have an element of confidence in saying that if the right offer comes in, they're gone. Now we're not going to sit on our hands and go, we'll just Jaden, come on, lad, we'll get you up front. Can we buy some 8 million quid youngster from Fulham to go on the right? No, I think Edwards and Hughes will be a little bit more ruthless in the summer because they don't have to accommodate a squad in the same way. And then we'll go for it.
But Tom, in terms of ruthlessness, you mentioned that these guys are going to be ruthless when this is going to take place. I didn't see any ruthlessness in the summer when it concerns Endo. Within the first week of us coming back from pre-season, it was prime knowledge to everybody that Endo had to leave that he wasn't going to be in the plans of Slot, and that we were going to get rid of Endo, and that we were going to go and buy a midfielder. And then what happens? We didn't get the midfielder, the player that we wanted, we didn't get. Endo stays at the football club. So this ruthlessness business, I'm yet to see it, if I'm honest with you. Because the players that we really want to go and buy, we haven't got. Kvaratskhelia come out on the market. I don't know if it's a Hughes thing or the paper thing, whatever it is. But it feels like it's another player that we're going to probably lose out on, or it's already gone. So in terms of the ruthlessness, I'm yet to see it. Yes, the manager might want a few players out, but the truth is, we didn't back him. In his first summer, I don't believe any manager that comes in, he's always backed to say, okay, here's the door, whatever, 1 or 2 players, go and do what you need to do, and then you know what, you can have a look at the squad. We'll give it a year, and then we'll take it from there. Now we're in January, we're top of the table in terms of the Premier League, and we're basically flying in all corners, in all directions. It is paramount that in January, because it's plain sailing, I know, everybody in world football probably knows where Liverpool's weaknesses are. So if we're really right now going toe-to-toe with the best teams in the world, it's imperative. Okay, you didn't sign anybody in the summer, but this January, let's go and give this manager 1 or 2 players where, you know what, that, let's if it's the summer, let's bring it forward like we did with Diaz 4 or 5 years ago. Yes, we will look at. He was a brilliant signing for us. He gave us that lift where we nearly went for the quad. Yes, we slightly missed out, but we're in that same situation right now where we were in that season, where we have a chance to go on every single front. Go and back the manager with 1 or 2 signings. We're not asking for 200 million. That is not what Liverpool fans ask for. We understand the model. We get it. Just back him when he needs. We know the left back area in needs sorting. Maybe a centre back. We probably need 3, but you know what? I can live with the centre back if we buy a left sided centre back and a midfielder, because Gravenberch in that 6 simply plays too many games. And again, if we miss out because of an injury to 1 or 2 of these players, me and you are going to be sat here in May having an absolute meltdown on the owners, saying if only we were back. We've been saying this if only for the past 6-7 years. In the Edwards era as well. Yes, over the last couple of years, we can not point the blame at Klopp and say, you know what, he had nothing to do with it. The structure wasn't there. It was Klopp that was making the decisions. Fair play. We trusted the manager. I trusted him. You trusted him. Everybody generally out there as a Liverpool fan trusted Klopp to make that judgment because he was going to make the decisions. We're at a crossroads right now in this, and I genuinely believe this. If you really want to make a statement and say, okay, we're ready to go again, give the manager a couple of players in January and you will see it. And then you can be ruthless in the summer. You can really go and say, you know what, let's get rid of this. Put a line through Simicast, put a line through Endo. You've already got a strong base. Because in the summer then, the way me and you are talking, 7 players are going to go. 7 new players are going to go. If you lose out on a title and the Champions League because we weren't backed, and then you've got a full overhaul in the summer as well, it's like going to be like a sort of new start again. And this is always been my biggest gripe. You always leave us short. We're never proactive. We're always reactive. For once, just be proactive and back the manager.
Gene, I got a question for you, Gene. You said to me that you made a point about Liverpool wanting to sign a 6 in the summer, but then you also made the point previously that it can happen to anyone. We basically identified the player that we wanted. That player was Zubimendi. He said yes to us, and then he eventually said no. But then you also made the point about Wataru Endo slot knew after 1 preseason game that Wataru Endo was not good enough. And that was before any of the Zubimendi stuff came out. So if Zubimendi said no, because I think if we signed Zubimendi, we would have sold Endo. Why would we then make the squad weaker, knowing we're not investing in the team? We can't get the player we want, and then because then we'll be in this position where we have a couple of injuries. Gravenberch is already singular. We didn't know he was going to play in that position. We sell Endo. We've got no cover whatsoever in that position. So if you can't strengthen your squad, Gene, my point is, if you can't strengthen your squad, don't weaken your squad. Doesn't make sense to me. Endo has been so how vital has Endo been in the last couple of weeks? It's been clear.
I'm not saying
we didn't let him go though, did we?
Yeah, I'm not saying sell him without a replacement. I am not saying sell him without a replacement. What I'm trying to say is I'm not saying sell Wataru Endo and don't buy a replacement. That's making us weaker because we need at least we've got a player there. I get that. What I'm saying is within 1 week we knew we needed a 6 slot. Didn't like Endo, who was our 6. He probably wanted to go. Well, probably we all know he wanted another 6. Zubimendi was the target that we wanted. We missed out on him. All right, I sometimes sit here, I find it hard to believe that there's only one player in fucking world football that was good enough to play for Liverpool Football Club. I will never get that. And I'm not even a coach or anything like that. These guys have got the analytics, not me. These guys, they know. But why? Because we will always dilly-dally in terms of fee, the age range, the guy's wages. There's always something that we will say no because of the player or he's too expensive. We talk about money. We should be loaded right now. The club should be absolutely loaded with cash. We're probably one of the biggest earners in world football. We hardly spend any money. We're plus probably in terms of the last 6 or 7 transfer windows. I think 2 or 3 of them we've been plus. Name me a club that's in the top 6 that's a plus. Ever a plus in a transfer window. So there's money there to be spent. Go and spend it on the players that on positions where we need strengthening.
I agree, but you don't get into the plus by making rash decisions. I.e., right, we need a DM. I can't get my first choice, second choice, probably not good enough. But you know what? We just need a guy in, and then we get him, and then you're stuck with him. I think Liverpool. I'm going back a couple of years now. I think Liverpool's model and the people upstairs at Liverpool got burned a little bit by COVID, because I always thought the plan was to sell Sadio Mane after we won the league. And then that was their big sort of, right, we'll rehaul the squad then. And then COVID happened, and then all the stuff financially in football suffered because of COVID. And then our guys sort of went, like, we can't make any rash decisions, because if something like this happens again and we're not secure, we could be in trouble. And then they'll look at all the other leagues, like your Barca's, who barely own anything in the football club, etc.
Tom, are we the only club that got affected by COVID?
Exactly.
No,
exactly.
I'm not. No, but I didn't say we got affected in that way. I'm just saying that it's put the fear in the back of the minds that if we go big and it doesn't work, and then something happens, and then we're in trouble. I understand why the football club are in the spot they're in. But I would love us to go for signings this January, sorry. But I've always maintained, since the Van Dijk situation, because that was when I realised the people who are paid millions of pounds a year might be better at football transfers than me.
Okay.
I don't want us to settle for a third choice option or a fourth choice option, because it never works out for us. It never works out for us.
Tom, just to interject, the way nobody knew how Ryan Gravenberch is going to work out. The manager has come out publicly and said he's even surprised me. But we still need a body in that area, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
It's clear he doesn't fancy Endo. The window is open. What's changed? Gravenberch has played crazy amount of minutes. It's clear that he needs some support in that area. Liverpool, the situation has slightly changed. Rather than a number one option, we need an option that he's comfortable playing and giving the likes of Ryan Gravenberch a bit of a rest. Why can't we sort that player out? Like Gene said, was it only Zubimendi that improved this Liverpool team?
I wouldn't be shocked if by the metrics that Liverpool had and by the metrics that the scouts came up with, Zubimendi was probably not the only one, but he was just so far and away the best candidate that it kind of makes everyone else look worse. And it comes back to a point I made earlier on. When Liverpool spend on a position, that kind of blocks the position off for the foreseeable future.
Yep.
So if we go out this January and buy a midfielder and it's not Zubimendi or it's not a DM of that ilk, but we brought him in to be a body, that's it for that position. We're not getting that starting level player. We're then left with that as the option, and I don't think that's the way we should be going. I think that I understand why Slot has his reservations about the squad, because I get it. Some of these players cannot play the style of football he wants to play. But I also think there's got to come an element of time where you just have to kind of make it work for 6 months. And I get Endo can't do the job that he wants from a 6. And I know people are going to kill me in the comments for this. I haven't seen anything that suggests Tyler Morton can't for a game or two though. And I am not willing.
Tom, we want to win the league.
Exactly. I'm not wheeling Tyler Morton out against City. I'm not wheeling Tyler Morton out against Arsenal. I'm not wheeling him out for Etihad. I'm not wheeling him out for Stamford Bridge. I'm going Ipswich at home. A game where you won't need Gravenberch, realistically. You can play the backup. Do I think Tyler Morton can do a job there for the game? I do. Now, is he the ideal solution? Should Tyler Morton then be Liverpool's backup for the next 6 years? No. But for 6 months, whilst the best options aren't going to be available on the market, because January is always a tough market to buy in, I don't want us to go for the player that's available in January, because the most likely, unless they're coming off the league, they're not going to work in the same way for me.
The truth is... One second, Sarib, let me ask one question. So, we wait for that player. So, January is here now. Why are we not in for Martin Zubimendi? If the player is available and we said he's available, you go in January and say, come. If he doesn't want to come, you go in the summer. And you go again. What if the summer comes and because we waited 6 months to get this player, 90% he goes to Man City because Manchester City need a midfielder.
This happened before.
You can't wait. Listen, and he was our number, and that means we have just wasted 1 year because we want a certain footballer. I don't accept. I get where you're coming from, Tom. I get it, because at the end of the day, you want the player that you really want, and if it means waiting 3-4 months for him, fine. We'll wait for him. But you can't guarantee that player will come. You don't know. The guy might pick up. He might not. Might not be as good in that year. We've just wasted a year of trying to go for a title. That might be the difference, because the difference in this league is inches. That's all it is. 1-2 games, and just because of them 1-2 games, It doesn't make sense. You can do all the groundwork in the world, thingy, but you have to get that body over the line. Zuba is a prime example. We did everything to try and get him. He changed his mind. We didn't sign a player. Then go and get Zuba-Mendy in January. Then make sure that you get this player in thingy, because it's not always the first choice that works, Tom. Mohamed Salah was not first choice. Sadio Mane were not first. These two were not first choices, but they were second choices. But they were arguably one of the best, two of the greatest players I've ever played for Liverpool Football Club in the Premier League era. So sometimes you have to make it work. But I get it. When you're at the top of world football, it's harder to bring in. You don't want the second best. When you're at the top of world football, the player, in terms of, you can take a risk on a player when you're sixth, seventh, and try and get to the top. But when you're at the top, you want to try and get the best to stay at that level. But right now, the way I see it is, we're nearly there in terms of I'm shocked how well Arne Slot has done with this team, with this squad. He's done an unbelievable job. We just need a little push to really say, okay, guys, go for it. Because there are players out there that will enhance this football team right now. There are, we all watch football, Tom. Come on.
Yeah, no. If you go back to that list of left backs, though, and we look at it,
which one? This one, yeah.
Yeah. So Kirkes, you're not going to get. Bournemouth are going for a European show. He's not going to sell a starting left back. Theo Hernandez, you're not going to get him in January. AC Milan are not going to let the starting left back go in January. Miguel Gutierrez, another one. Girona are still in the Champions League. They're not going to let the starting left back go in January. The Kuipia, I'm pretty sure he's the Belgian left back out of Club Brugge. I don't think anyone here would be sitting there going, yes, we've got a 19-year-old left back from Club Brugge. That's not it. Alphonso Davies signed a new contract at Bayern, apparently. Nuno Mendes, massively injury prone. Ait Nouri, Wolves aren't going to sell in a relegation battle. Dorgu, I think he's at Lecce. I think he's more of a wing back, but it's to say that's one's an iffy one. I've not watched as much of him. Ruggeri, I think he's another Italian left back. Hartman, I don't like shopping the Eredivisie.
A serious injury as well.
There you go. Loco plays at Brest. They're still in the Champions League. I don't think you're going to go. Traffer is like 24 and he's more of a winger. Udogie, you're not getting Udogie from Tottenham. Ferland Mendy is crap for all intents and purposes. I don't rate Ferland Mendy.
He's got Mamadou Sakho at the end as well.
And El Hadj Diouf. I mean, we had El Hadj Diouf in 2002. He wasn't very good. I know we've been linked with this one now. And if you go have a look at his numbers, which is what the scouting team look at, the man can't defend. The man's tackling numbers in the bottom 5% in Europe. So I'd rather avoid that. There are left backs that I like Jarell Hato. I think Jarell Hato is brilliant. I like Kirkes. I like Gutierrez. But this is what it comes down to in January. Some of these guys aren't going to be available. But I'm looking at that list. I reckon that Dorgu's available. But he's about 9th, 10th on my list. I don't want to drop that far down my list to go and fill a spot, because the one bad part that I do agree with everyone on with this recruitment strategy is they don't cut their losses. They ride through it.
Yeah, I get that.
So if we bought Dorgu, we're stuck with Dorgu for 4 years, regardless of how good he is.
I'm going to ask you a clean question. Do you think a lot of these left backs are better than what we have now?
Kirkes
is.
I would.
100%.
On that list,
Davies and all these guys. Davies, Alphonso Davies.
Yeah, so I'm asking you, Tom.
They might be injury prone. There's loads better than us, man.
On that list, are those players that you've just mentioned, those 9 or 10 players, better than what we have now?
Three, definitely, yeah.
I'd say 4 of them. I'd back 4 of them right now. And because what's got to be factored
in
is...
What do you think, Sarib?
Yeah, I think most of them are all better than Andy Robertson.
There you go.
I'm going to be honest. That's why I want to go back to the point Tom made about...
Go to Ajax. The player's worth... Listen to me. Go to Ajax. He's worth 40 million. He is 50 million. For once, go for it. Because you know that player right now is going to elevate your side. If you have to pay premium once or twice in the transfer market, so be it. But go and pay premium. And Ajax will find it very difficult to refuse an offer for a player like Heto.
Done the same thing with Gakpo, Diaz.
Look, all I'm saying is just sometimes you have to go and pay premium. Man United, the Chelsea, these teams, they've always paid premium on certain footballers if they really want you to go and play. I get the model. I get it. But when you're going for everything, when you're in such an unbelievable position as what we're in right now in Jan, take that risk to say, okay, you know what, we might go and flipping just by strengthening the squad on 1 or 2 players. where we paid, yes, 15, 20 million premium on 2 players. Is it worth it? It probably is, because you're going for everything. That's my issue.
I get that.
another
I
point.
think I have a doubt with a lot of these, a lot of the names. I think there was 2 Premier League names there. I want us to go back to buying domestically. I think that you get a lot more security if you buy Premier League proven.
Agree.
I don't like it when we go
But
shopping.
Tom, everyone in the Premier League has money now. There's a Premier League tax. Are they comfortable doing it?
Exactly. So we're stuck. I think that this.
So we can't spend money in Europe. We can't spend money in Premier
No,
League.
you can't spend money.
Brighton, because I understand why we don't do a Brighton. What model are we going to work with? There's no model then.
The problem is that January doesn't work in this model, and that's the one part I agree. January in this model is horrendous because nothing lines up for the way you want it to go. Because you should be aiming to buy players in January who have some experience in the league. Otherwise, what you'll end up getting sometimes is you'll buy a player in January who you can't use because they just can't adapt to the league quick enough. And then you get to April or May and you're there.
On the verge of signing 3 players.
That's fine. I don't think. By the way, I don't think they've addressed their problem there. But I'm not saying we can't. But we got to look at the list of players they're buying. They're buying a 20-year-old from Lens, a centre back. So there's no guarantee how he adapts to the Premier League. They're buying Omar Marmoush from the Bundesliga. Again, no idea how he's going to adapt to the Premier League. But they're in a position where their seasons, like they can kind of afford to gamble the money on these sort of things. I don't want us to go and buy 3rd choice option because I know for a fact, DM wise, we can't buy 1st or 2nd choice. I don't know who 2nd choice is.
There were no guarantees. There was no guarantees that Zubomendi will come and be settled in Liverpool. The guy in the end, he chose the mountainous.
I agree, Asim.
So even though Zubomendi was our first choice, there was no guarantees for him.
I agree with Zubomendi, but the difference is that was a summer deal. So you would have had an entire season to get him acclimated. If you're buying someone now, you've got to try and get them acclimated in 6 months in the most high pressure part of the season. And I know Diaz worked, and Diaz is the exception to the rule, because I remember when Minamino came in, he struggled massively in those first months. When Gakpo came in, he struggled massively up until March, back in the March, start of April. Part of that's down to the position he's played in, but again, he struggled to get up to the pace of it, and probably the team that wasn't best suited. But that's the thing. From what I've watched, I don't think if you buy someone in January, the risk, you don't want to be buying backup options and then having to acclimate them as well. I just think there's too many variables at play. I know what I can get from Morton. I know what I can get from. I know it's not world beater level, but I need someone who can give me 90 against Ipswich.
You made a good point about Marmoush and the son about the son in Kusano, I think his name is from Lons. You said the reason why Man City can get away with this is because of their position in the league at the moment. They're not challenging for major honours and stuff like that. I think the only reason we can get away with Tyler Morton is because of the position we're in and the position of other teams. So I think if he was in a title race where we're going 97, 96 points with City, like previous years, and Arsenal in the mix, we cannot get away with the squad, because we have seen it in the last 2-3 years. When Arsenal and Man City are on it, we are the 3rd best team in this league, and that's been proven over the last 2 years, and it's the exact same squad.
I disagree. I think we've been better.
I don't know why you're always
going to spend another hour on the show now.
They've shown me how good they are.
I disagree on that point though. With we've been shown that we are worse than Arsenal. Like last year, I'd put us ahead of Arsenal, but we just had the most horrendous set of injuries you could imagine. We were rocking up to a cup final with 5 kids, and then everything hit at once. I think we were better than Arsenal for last season.
We are the only ones that they are exactly, Tom. So, but we were the only. They are the only ones that ever have injuries. We're the ones that had the injuries last season, not them. They're the ones. We had a number. We were top of the table with 10 games to go. We had injuries to so many of our players. We
had to play Joe Gomez in every position. Joe Gomez pretty much played every position in our half of the pitch. But when we're saying Arsenal were better than last year, they win.
It's all right.
Yeah, I think you're seeing that, and I get the point of we can do it in this position. I've been big on Tyler Morton, and maybe this is the Tyler Morton part of my head, because I've wanted to see him get a little bit more of a chance this season. This is a lad who was wanted by Bayer Leverkusen in the summer. Bayer Leverkusen are a very good team with a very good manager. And they were offering, the part that get me is they were offering guarantees of football. They were saying, you will start at least half the games. That, to me, Bayer Leverkusen just won a Bundesliga invincible. They're not going to be given scrubs, guaranteed game time. So to me, that's the part where you go, I understand he's not your first choice option, Arnie, and we're not going to leave you with him for your time here. You're not going to be left with him in 2028. But for a year, whilst we get everything fixed up, and whilst we start setting up all the networks again, can you deal with him? Same with Endo. I know he's not your guy, but can you give Endo? Can you use Endo as an emergency option? 10 minutes to close a game out. Put him at centre back if needs be. Just whatever you need. It won't be the long-term thing, but just for one season, can you do it? The one position I agree on is left back, because we haven't got a Tyler Morton type player. I like Owen Beck. He's not ready yet. As much as I think he could do a job, he's not ready in that same ilk yet. And left back, I've never rated Tsimikas, and Robertson's starting to show stages of decline. I don't think, unless you can pry Kirkes away, and apparently he's not even the type of profile that we're after. I don't see what type of move you're making this window where your pants aren't pulled down, and that's the one thing Liverpool don't want to do, because we won't spend that money, and it's the pitfalls of this model. I do think left back is the area we should be looking to strengthen most. That's the area.
Yeah, that's the area. I agree with you. Because if Gravenberch was to get slightly, I believe Maka can play that role. If really,
Maka can drop in. Elliot can get minutes.
I'm you can make the midfield. The left back, because that's why I mentioned the left back, because it's cost us goals this season, Tom. When you look at the amount of mistakes Robbo's made that have led to goals, that's title defining for me. Because that's what's going to win and lose your title. If you make mistakes like that on a continuous basis, and you can see the issue, at least go and try and rectify it. Look, I know Tsimikas has been injured and has just come back. We know how good Tsimikas is, and I agree with you. Even though he was slightly better than Robbo at the start of the season, and he probably did cement his place before he got injured, he's still not at the level required to say, okay, he's our number one choice. He's the one that's going to play there. This is my issue, because it's fine margins. I know we're 6 ahead with a game in hand, but we all know that one little mistake and it completely turns the table, because we've been there, done it, we've seen it, where we've lost a title on 1 point. So this is the thing. I don't want to be in a situation come May where we've lost a title by 1 point because we didn't strengthen it in one position, which we've known is a problem area for at least a year. That's what hurts me anyway.
And that's why, even though, I'm sure people in the comments are calling me an FSG apologist and everything, I'm expecting a big summer coming up, because I could buy into the notion that this was a year of fixing everything upstairs and getting the full rundown of what Arnie Slot can work within a squad. But next summer, all upstairs should be fixed. Arnie Slot will give you a list of players that do not work for him. And that's where the overturn needs to happen. And if I'm back on this channel in September of next year after the window's shut, and we're still dealing with a left-back situation like this or a DM situation like this, I'll be fully on your side. But for now, I'm just a little bit cautious about it, because I don't want us to make any rash decisions that I know we won't get rid of. And if we were a club, the only time I've seen us do this was Benteke, and it was only because Benteke wasn't an Edwards signing. He was quite happy to push him out the door at the earliest possible opportunity. But when Liverpool go and buy in a position, very rarely do you see us sell them in the next window if they've not worked out, because we will try and stick by them in the hopes that the value, they'll figure it out and the value will go up, and then we can sell them at that point. But
Tom, we simply just don't have the money. To be fair to Klopp, he got Keita. Don't you think he knew deep down that I just finished? He just can't stay fit. Don't you think he knew how many injuries Chamberlain had? Don't you think he knew? I know he gave the 4-year contract to Henderson, but there were so many players that deep down he came out in public in that January where the whole defense, went kaput, and you had the likes of Fabinho and Henderson playing in centre back. He said, I need support. I can't exactly remember. The chat might remind me. And he didn't want Davies from Preston and Kabak from Mars. Don't you think Klopp wanted a proper centre back in that January? But the only thing back in, we simply didn't have the money.
But then it comes back to the cycle of January's a crap windows of buying. I remember what we were trying to do. That
look at the situation, Tom. It was unprecedented.
It was unprecedented, and then we tried to address it, and we moved for Canate, and then we drew them in the Champions League, and they wouldn't let him go. And then the football club and the recruitment staff done exactly what they did. And he went, he is target number 1, so we're not going to go and buy backup option number 3, and then block ourselves off from getting him because of squad succession. So we went and bought those last 3 days, that window were hilarious because it was Liverpool operating like they never want to. We went for Coletta Carr, remember him? Went for Coletta Carr and then left him stranded at an airport because we wouldn't pay the money.
Yeah.
Then we got Kabak on loan, brought in Ben Davies for 3 million, and Klopp didn't even know about that. But that's why January's and it comes down again to the fact that every club that had a centre back that would have been a good level for us kind of went, yeah, we've got centre back tax now. Every centre back's going to cost you more money. And again, it's probably the pitfall so many people's eyes, the ownership. They're not going to go in and then they're not going to go, right, well, you've got it backed against the wall. We'll go for it, because then we wouldn't have got Canate. And I just think that this summer's nowhere near that situation. We're in a very strong position at the minute. And this is about strengthening from a position of solidity.
Okay. Time will tell. We can spend easily another hour on this. FSG owners, how much money we spend in January, and Kvaratskhelia, and it's all very interesting. And
it's funny as well, because I know the comments are probably having a go at me about my stance on the transfers. If you ask me about the contracts, you'll never see a bigger hate of FSG. Oh my god, the amount of anger I have about the contracts.
Okay,
that makes no sense to me.
Okay, let's take what you think of the contracts. We obviously haven't heard you talk about it. We've heard a lot of talk about FSG and the transfers, but what do you make of this contract situation? Because Tom, every single Liverpool fan knows and believes it's an absolute shambles.
Oh, it's an absolute horrendous. It's horrendous. Liverpool have 4 world-class players, and 3 of them are in the last 6 months of the deal. 2 of them are basically going out into the media every other week and going, "I want to stay. I want to extend my contract here." And we're doing nothing. We're seemingly just waiting, biding our time. And I understand waiting when you've got all the players, because you need them to show that they're going to perform at the level. But Mohamed Salah's played at the best level Mohamed Salah has ever played at in a Liverpool shirt. And Virgil van Dijk is showing the highest level of quality he's had since his knee injury. So there's question number 1 answered. Your idea of, well, we can't give them a big contract because we don't know what they're going to be. There, you've got it. They are the best in the world in their position right now. So that warrants at least 3 years in my eyes, especially with the likes of Mohamed Salah. Because let's say, God forbid it happened, but let's say after year 2, his hamstring goes and all of a sudden he starts to look a little bit worse. Mohamed Salah is an asset. If you want to put your FSG hat on, will always sell for something. There will always be a market for a player of Mohamed Salah's stature. Someone will always want to have Mohamed Salah at their football club. So that, again, shouldn't also be a worry. Trent, I think... Trent's a very different one, because I have a bit of anger towards Trent about the way he's handled the situation, the way he's tried to deal with it, and the fact that he's refused to say anything. I mean, yesterday might be the first time in years that I've seen the man of the match winner not do the interview, because we are just apparently on complete media lockdown with Trent. We can't get a word out of him, which to me, that grinds my gears, especially as the vice captain. But again, how have we let it get to this point? We're paying for the mistakes of the past 2 years. That's what we're doing. Because our football club was so poorly structured upstairs for the past 2 years, because there was so much carnage and turmoil, when everything's a little bit settled down, we're paying for those mistakes now. Trent Alexander-Arnold has doubts about staying. I don't know what, as a Scouser, I don't know why. I don't think there's a better club in the world than Liverpool, especially when we're in the position that we're in now, looking like one of the best teams on the planet. But we're in this position now. Criminal that we've got to this point, especially with Van Dijk and Salah, because it's very rare that top players show the level of loyalty and the level of love for a football club that Van Dijk and Salah have. Mohamed Salah, rightly or wrongly, Mohamed Salah loves the Liverpool Football Club and he loves the fans. And I can't remember, we've had some great attackers over the years, Torres, Suarez, etc., etc. I can't think of an attacker who has reached the level of Mohamed Salah, talk about who isn't obviously from Liverpool, talk about Liverpool the way he does, appreciate Liverpool the way he does, and we're sitting there disrespecting him. Same goes with Virgil van Dijk, captain. If we didn't have Van Dijk across the past 3 weeks, oh my God, what, this title race would be so much closer and we'd be really concerned. But he's that rock at the back and he's looking better and better and everyone's improving alongside him and we're still and on. And Trent's a different boat because we don't know where he wants to stand. And I have my issues on, rumours about how much he wants to get paid and stuff. I don't think he deserves to be on the same amount of money as those two. But still, this is, even if you want to go cynical with FSG, if you want to run a sell to buy model, how are you letting your most valuable asset go for free? That's not sell to buy. How do you replace that then? You're not going to get someone of a similar quality for free. So then it doesn't make sense in that moment. So the contract situation blows my mind. I understand there's always issues when it comes to bringing someone in. There's always external factors. But when they're already at the club, the only factor stopping you from signing them to a new deal, especially in the case of Van Dijk and Salah, is you. And why are you an issue? Because they're not an issue, and there's no reason for you to be an issue. We're making record revenues every year. We're getting mega sponsorship deals. We've increased the capacity of Anfield so we can make more money there, and we've dedicated half that stand to hospitality because brilliant idea. All this to get more and more and more money into the football club because it's becoming a more popular sport. But when you make more money and when you make record net revenue, etc., 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 at least go reward the people who've put you in the position. We would not be in a position we are to renovate Anfield, to renovate the training ground, without the success we've earned off the backs of these players. Because we got to Champions League finals because of Salah and Van Dijk and Trent, which gave you the money to go renovate everything, which gave you the money to go improve everything. It's a two-way relationship, and I can understand the anger. And I'm someone who's very angry about it, especially with Salah and Van Dijk, because I've never, bar Steven Gerrard, I've never seen a Liverpool legend in my eyes in the flesh. And I've got to see two right there throughout their entire time at the football club. And then it almost feels like we're disrespecting them at the end. And that to me won't sit right. And if they go in the summer, there will be a lot. I think it'll be a little bit different with Trent because there's a lot of different factors with him. But if Salah and Van Dijk were to leave for free in the summer, I think there would be a lot of anger directed at this ownership group, and they would have to do a lot of work to win that back because Liverpool fans aren't stupid. There would only be one reason why you wouldn't extend them to.
Okay. Just my little few thoughts on that, Tom, is the way you're talking about how the players will, how the fans will be upset, and you're 100% right. But the fact that we're in this, regardless of how we've got here, you're right, it's criminal, and we're, to an extent, we're paying for past mistakes. I agree with you, but now that we're in this situation, the players have got the club where they want to be, and every player and their team and their representatives and their families want the best deal for themselves, and rightly so. But now the club, in the same way we were talking about, if you have to pay a premium just to get it over the line, I think you can apply the same theory on these contracts. Because we're in this position, because it's Salah, because it's Trent, because it's Van Dijk, no laptop in the world is going to tell you there's a better defender than Van Dijk. No laptop in the world is going to tell you there's a better right back than Trent. And no laptop is going to tell you there's a better player in world football than Mohamed Salah. But they won't pay it. They simply pay. There's an acceptance on the club's behalf, Tom. Sorry about that, mate. There's an acceptance from the club to let players go on a free. Because the way they structure it, right, we give you over 5 years, it's going to cost us 60-70 million over a year in terms of your contract. But because you're 32, we believe we can get a 60 million pound player. But tell me where that 60 million pound player is in the world that's going to give you half the numbers that Salah's going to give. There isn't.
That's
now there's panic. Now there's panic, Tom. That's the problem.
That's the big point with Salah and Van Dijk and Trent. Like, the model works when you buy and sell and develop, but you also have to keep world-class players at points, especially when they want to stay. And it feels to me like we are trying to strong arm them into accepting a late deal from us, where we'll go like March time, barely any increase on the it's all favourable terms for Liverpool, and we think they're going to go, okay, I'm desperate to stay, so I'll do it.
Yeah,
That won't happen. That won't happen. We are going to have to make some compromises as well, and it's not unwarranted that we do that, because Mohamed Salah and Van Dijk have done everything you could ask for out of two players throughout the time at Liverpool, and especially this season. So the least you can do is make some compromises to reward them for that.
Yeah, exactly. Time. Let's see who blinks first. Gene, there's a few super chats to get through. And I'm sorry I didn't put them on the screen because that was a really good flow of the conversation. I didn't want to interrupt it. Jack Scouser H, thank you very much for your super chat. Massively risking the league if we don't buy in January. Another one from Jack Scouser again. Thank you very much. We need to start mentally being prepared for this, how things are going to be. The drip feeding us to be ready for minimal business in the future. Ash, as ever, supporting the channel and the boys. If we sign a player and we're stuck with them for 4 years, Tom saying, then that's not ruthless, is it? So we stop saying Slot Edwards' regime is ruthless?
I mean, ruthless in the sense of they would get rid of players they didn't have. So, like in the summer, they've already started preparing the pieces for when they get rid of Nunes. In the summer, saying that we wanted Nkunku, that he was very much a Klopp sign and this, that, and the other. That's Edwards and his team distancing themselves from that. So when they sell him, they can say that's why. When it comes down to their signings, because Keita was an Edwards signing, let's not. I'm not someone who's just a Michael Edwards apologist. Keita was a Michael Edwards guy, and he ranted and raved about him. But when that doesn't work, we don't get rid, and that's the problem. That's where I need to see the ruthlessness on that side.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the few articles that the narrative that's been running over the last month or 6 months or so that it's all Klopp's fault. I think you can expect a few more articles coming through the media that is Klopp's fault as well, and I think that's on Edwards as well, Tom. If I'm really honest.
Oh yeah, he's him and his team have been trying to control the narrative ever since they've come back in, and they're trying to prepare it for a different way. I just don't think that when that super chat said we're going to be drip fed minimal spend, I don't think that's the case. I don't think we're going to be drip fed to minimal investment and stuff. But I do think we're going to see a different way of operating, and Edwards' only way of doing that is by bad-mouthing what came before to diminish that.
Yeah. Okay, there's a few more to get through. Selection, Tom, you make a lot of sense. Rather consolidate considering our situation, and most positions are stacked. Reconstruct on areas needed in the summer. I would like to know what sort of keyboard selection is using. Look at that man. Maybe he's got.
He must have had a few. There's all over the shop, that is.
And again, Jack Scouser with his third super chat of the night. Thank you very much. I can feel unrest at the ground towards the owners too. I beg to differ, Tom. I don't see that unrest at the ground. I saw a bit unrest towards Trent during the Man United game.
That's going to happen. That was always going to happen.
I've seen a few banners. Obviously, we've all seen them towards the contract situation, but I think it's far from unrest. It's far from unrest.
I think if they don't get, I don't think if the contracts get sorted, just can you sit here and imagine that we would all, me, you, and Asim, Tom will be completely okay with Van Dijk, Salah not signing a contract and they were to go. They would be unrest, Asim. I can't accept all three going. That's asking for it.
Tom, do you think Trent's going to stay?
I don't think he's going to stay, no.
Okay. Do you think Salah and Van Dijk will stay?
I hope they do. I don't know whether Liverpool Football Club will sign them on. They should do, and I think they want to stay. But I'm quite confident in saying that Trent probably made this decision last season to go, and he was kind of gambling on us not necessarily being as good as we are straight away. So he had that line of reason to go with well, I need to go and win at this stage in my career. But on that unrest point, that banner to me, and the fact it's been two banners now, that's about the most visual level of unrest you'll get at the football. We're not going. These aren't Hicks and Gillette, and a lot of the fan base remember Hicks and Gillette, and they don't want to. What's that saying? You don't want to go get rid of something that's okay just to get something even worse. When you've seen what's bad, you don't want to go back to that, so you'd rather keep what's secure. But I think a lot of people do understand unrest, and that those banners to me are the you're certainly not going to hear us chanting FSG out on the ground, but banners like that and little murals and stuff, that they're the kind of thing that to me paint a different image, that it's not vocal, but people are getting a bit tetchy with it and going, why are we not getting them signed up? You know, these are Liverpool legends. These are our best players.
Gene, I know we've been going over, and I don't want to keep Tom for too long. We will wrap up in 5 minutes, but just quickly about the Trent situation. There was a little clip of him going around on Twitter where he just touched the badge, going onto the Spurs bench. He acknowledged the crowd yesterday. You were there, and he received a really good reception all around. But are you still thinking that he's made his mind up?
Yes, I don't think that changes anything, Asim, until if he signs a contract, fair play. If he doesn't, then all fingers are pointing towards the door that he wants to get out. Wants to leave Liverpool Football Club. It's not. Yes, he had a really, really good performance. Genuinely speaking, I thought he'd be professional throughout. Obviously, the United game threw me a little bit because he was that bad that after that type of performance, you're always going to question if he's got his heart set in playing for us. But look, I think he'll give us everything he's got. I don't think he stays. I think he's off. I agree with Tom. I've been saying it since March last year. I think when his contract's up, he will leave, and I stick by that.
Okay, super chat just come through. Ayush Lala FSG said Klopp be backed after UCL win. Nothing has happened. Tom, but before we go, I know we were supposed to touch on the Accrington Stanley game, but we cruised past them, and I'm sure we can maybe discuss the game maybe when we do the post season show. But just quickly, we've got a small matter of Nottingham Forest on Tuesday night.
Title definer, that one. Title decider. I'm terrified for it. I really am. Honestly, I didn't expect to be going to the City ground and being this worried, but I am. I think obviously the only team that beat us in the league this season, they are riding the crest of the biggest wave going at the minute, and rightly so. You know, they're having an incredible season. Nuno, he's always been a solid manager, and when he gets a team fully bought in on his ideas, they can go on to do crazy things like this. Let's not forget that Wolves team. I do think that the fact it's at home for Forest might cause it to be a different game than what it was at Anfield. I think our problem at Anfield was they were so resolute defensively because they could be. I think if they're at home, there'll be a bit of an impetus to go out a little bit and try and not take the game to us fully, but be a little bit more expansive, a little bit more open, and that's the kind of thing that can benefit us because we won't necessarily be crossing it into a bloody set of Nottingham Forest heads like we were in September. But we have to be careful on the counter. I think we got stung by it early this season, and I'd like to think we're not going to get stung by it again. You know, you live and you learn type thing. But this game to me is all going to come down to the midfield battle. I think we lost the midfield battle. One of the only times we lost the midfield battle this season was away at Forest. I think it was like Ward-Prowse, Ryan Yates, Dominguez, Gibbs White. Like they packed that midfield, and we couldn't really handle it. I think the game on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever it is midweek, Tuesday, that will be defined by how well our midfield holds up, which to me means that Dominic Szoboszlai is probably first name on the team sheet.
100%. I think obviously with that game as well, I think I was after an international break, and Maka looked absolutely shattered after 45 minutes. You could tell that, that he was.
I hate them South American international breaks. They wipe out half our players.
Exactly. And I think it will be a different. And I think obviously with Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and McAllister, hopefully will turn up, man. Look, it is going to be. I mentioned Avi. I know mentioned it as well. That it's the Leicester game of 1920. Sorry, where we had to go to a place and put up a performance. And I'm hoping this is that game where we turn up, we show what we're really about, and put up a performance that's going to send shockwaves. Thinking, you know what, these guys are. They're gonna go for this title head on.
I think if there's one team in world football that Slaughter's been watching and studying, it's Nottingham Forest.
He probably still wakes up with cutting cold sweat every night, thinking about that Hudson Odoi cutting.
Yeah, 100%. Predictions, Tom? Your mind, not your heart.
My mind says 2-0. 2-0 and an Alisson Becker, because he's been getting a lot of penalties recently for no reason. So an Alisson Becker masterclass where he makes a couple of big saves for us and keeps that clean sheet.
I thought you were just about to utter an Alisson header in the 90th minute.
I mean, if you want to go for that, don't know why it'd be up there at 1-0 up.
We've seen that before. It was in the Midlands as well, wasn't it? Gene, we'd settle for another late Darwin Núñez winner, won't we?
Oh, that was an unbelievable.
He's suspended, isn't he?
Oh,
yeah, he's suspended. Yeah, he's suspended. Yeah, just remember. Yeah,
yeah.
he is. My predictions are 2-1 of him. I think we
2-1.
win 2-1.
I think we get caught on a counter attack, Tom. I think I can see where you're coming from, and it'd be interesting to see how he does it. I think he'll stick with his wingers from the start. At Anfield, didn't he have both? Or Hudson-Odoi definitely came from the bench, didn't he?
No, he had both of them on the bench. He ran five. He ran 5 central midfielders against us because like Ward-Prowse or Gibbs-White was on the right, and I can't remember, like a Dominguez or something was on the left, and they were just so narrow.
They packed the midfield in there.
Gravenberch would like receive the ball, turn, and then all of a sudden there'd be 3 people swarming him, and he had to go back, and then we never really traced anything. So I think you'll see definitely at least one of Elanga or Hudson-Odoi start, which is where I'm going. That it might just be a little bit more open of a game because they're not going to be as compact and as tight, and that's where we need to punish them.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It'll be a cracking encounter.
I hope Canardi's fit as well because I don't trust Quansah against Chris Wood.
Yeah, I agree. And especially if we're going to put, if we're going to really try to control that midfield, he might get Trent to do bits in midfield, and you need Kanate on that right-hand side acting as the right back. Because we've seen, on the first day of the season, what did to Quansah, and I just don't think.
Why are we this nervous for? I did not think I'd be this nervous for Nottingham Forest. I'm pretty sure I predicted them going down. Why am I sitting there going? They could go second.
Tom, it's going to be their Champions League final for them.
Oh my god!
It's a small ground. I can remember telling Gene a couple of years ago. We've been to that ground about 3-4 times now, but I can remember telling him for the amount of fans that are in this stadium. They're bloody out loud.
It's a proper old school ground. It's one of a dying breed, unfortunately. The grounds need to go back to being that, not these soulless balls that people have. But it worries me. It does worry me, that game. I'd like to think that we go and get the job done, but Nottingham Forest are a dangerous team, and I did not think I'd be saying that.
Brilliant, Tom. Thank you very much for your time, mate. You're still on your own channel, aren't you? If you are, just give yourself a plug, man. Let people know where they can.
I don't know. I don't have a structure for it. I do just upload whenever, but I do have a channel. It's the same name you see on the screen there. You can follow me on Twitter as well. You'll see more of my ramblings there. Pleasure being on. It's always great getting on Born and Red to have a nice little waffle away with the lads. And if you're not already, whatever you're doing, make sure you're liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Some of the best content you'll see Liverpool related on YouTube. So what you doing, people? Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tom. Head over to his channel. Is that your Twitter handle as well, Tom? Yeah. Everything's the same. Brilliant. If you follow him, he was making a case for Ruben Amorim about a year ago. I had to get that in. Sorry, Tom. Hey, it doesn't look too bad now. He looks like he's figured it out now. Yeah, we should have already done you on a couple of games ago. That's why we timed you coming on this week and not a couple of weeks ago. Thank God I weren't on before the game we had against them, because oh my God, it was not a strong position to be in then. Don't worry, Tom. I like the guy as well. I think he's got something about him. But thank you very much for all to engage in chat as ever. Gene, your time. I don't know what happened to Sarib. Maybe you have to give him a call. Tom, thank you very much for your time. And we need to make it a bit more of a regular thing. If you reply to my WhatsApp, it might help. But... My WhatsApp is terrible. You can ask anyone in this scene. I am horrendous at replying to WhatsApp. Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. It's a statement week. Liverpool are going to make a statement. Make no mistake about it. We see you tomorrow, maybe for a preview. If not, we'll catch you on the post-match show on Tuesday night. Take care and have a good night. Bye-bye.